Hello everyone and welcome to the lecture video on ethics. This video is not going to cover all of the material provided to you on Canvas, but it is going to give you a clear outlook on ethics and how to use ethics while writing or conducting an oral speech. So I hope that it does help you understand how to make ethical judgments, specifically on citing your sources and providing the sources within your oral speeches. So let's get started, and let me share my screen so that you can see the PowerPoint. Come back up. So like I said before, we're going to be discussing ethics. I do want to let you all know that if you have any comments, concerns, any feedback, I really appreciate it. Please, if you are not understanding any type of content, not only for this week, but for the upcoming projects and assignments, please reach out to me. I don't forget, I also have my student or my office hours on Tuesdays. I log on every Tuesday. You can find the information on the syllabus or the course information on Canvas so that we can meet on Zoom and we can speak to each other without, kind of typing back and forth through email. So just reminding you that that's available for you guys. So let's continue. Ethics. So ethics altogether is choosing between right or wrong, specifically within a dilemma. So when you're making a judgment, a proper judgment, a right judgment, when you're trying to be the good person or the good individual when giving out information. So ethical decisions are made to contribute truth within a situation or dilemma. So when you come up or when you are going to specifically speak on a subject, you are providing or contributing truth to the material that you provide for your audience. So choosing to make the right decision. You always want to be sure that you're providing evidence from the sources that you are citing on or within your speeches. The evidence that you are providing is correct, because remember, this is the information that you're going to be giving it to your audience. When writing a speech, it's important to choose to be ethical from the very start. So I'm talking about brainstorming, when you're choosing a subject, when you're choosing to write about a subject, when it's in your brain first and it's not even on paper. That's when your ethical judgment should begin from the very start. Using morals and principles to make a choice. So morals altogether are decisions or judgments that we have embedded in us that say, yes, this is right, that's truthful. Be honest. So making ethical decisions are honest decisions. They're good decisions. They're judgments that you provide so that it gives the truthful realization of whatever type of information you're trying to give out. So, as public speakers, we'll come to face moral dilemmas and need to make ethical decisions on how to follow through. So, let's say one day or in an event you are conducting a speech, and you have an open forum, or someone shouts out and says, but doesn't abortion do this, or doesn't the president do this? Sometimes you have subjects that are very, very tender and they're very broad, that bring a lot of controversy. um, and so people will, or individuals will always have questions, or they'll obviously spit out those questions when you are at your most vulnerable on stage, right? So you always want to make sure that you're making the ethical choice in following through with any type of research that you've done, and you're knowledgeable with the truthful information that you've come along within your subject. So using your better judgment with dilemmas. In a dilemma, it's kind of hard to sometimes keep your cool when you are extremely motivated and just overall um, gratified with the information that you're providing to your audience. So um, when facing a dilemma, I guess what I'm trying to say is be nice, be honest, and make sure that you're always providing the information that you've specifically researched on. So when we follow our morals and our principles and making the right decision, we give that ethical information to our audience. So for example, let's say we have a political view and we are speaking upon a specific political candidate. You want to make sure that your speech revolves around the honest truths of this specific candidate, because your audience needs to really be captivated by the truth of your speech. So overall, ethical decisions are just right judgments that you choose to make. Where is ethical communication used? So, ethical communication can be enacted in written, oral, and nonverbal communication. In public speaking, we use ethical standards to determine what and how to exchange messages with our audience. So, this specific text came from your Lumen material on Canvas. Um, in this material, it's saying ethical communication is seen when you are writing your outline, when you're writing your speech, when you're writing any type of research embedded material. It's also seen in your oral speeches when you're conducting an oral speech, and nonverbal communication. These examples are make up of a very broad communication kind of family, because ethical communication is used as a firm boundary for each of these different type of communication uh, ways and portals. So in public speaking, we use ethical standards to determine what and how to exchange messages to our audiences. It's very important that you hear or that you see the how to exchange and what to exchange. Like I said before, you just kind of have to play with your words and be nice, be honest, and make sure that the knowledge and the research that you've conducted is is correct, so that way you give your audience the information that you really want to put out there, to broaden the subject that you are speaking upon. So when to use ethical communication. Ethical speaking is a process that's done over and over. It's not a one-time deal, meaning that ethical speaking is not something that you're just going to do in this course, that we're just going to do during this week. It's something that you should be doing on a daily basis. Should I talk back to my mom? No, that's making an ethical judgment. Should I steal a shirt from the store? No, that's making an ethical judgment. Should I cheat on my test? No, that's making an ethical judgment. So ethical judgments are should be practiced on a daily basis. Ethical communication should also be practiced on a daily basis. Should I lie to this person when we are communicating about, politics? No, because you want to provide the right information to whoever you're talking to, and be ethical about it. Think ethically from the start. Like we kind of touched base before, when you're brainstorming, from the moment you start brainstorming of a specific subject, you are to be thinking ethically. Let's say we want to do, or we're going to do a speech on on let's give the example of recycling. um, what are the pros of recycling? What are the cons? From the beginning, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to go for recycling is good for the earth. It's ethical. It's an ethical type of subject that I can bring upon an audience and say, look at all the benefits we can have if we recycle. So think ethically from the start. Now, if I want to say, um, recycling is not good because I'm going to find fewer cons than I would find pros in recycling. It just takes a little bit more work. So think ethically from the start, specifically on the subjects you're going to speak on. Be honest with yourself. If you're fighting with yourself and saying, well, I want to make the ethical choice, but I think the non-ethical choice is going to bring more attention to my writing. No, it should always be honest. Be honest in what you're doing, be honest in what you're writing, but specifically, guys, be honest in where you're getting your material. And that's what we're going to speak about mostly within this lecture video. When you find a source that has material that you want to use in your speech, you need to be honest, and you need to you need to add the citation and where the information came from. So using someone else's work without citing or sourcing the material is plagiarism. Plagiarism is something that you should not try to tangle with. It's something that you should always try to avoid, because you can get in very, very big trouble for plagiarizing someone else's work, especially on a speech. So, crediting sources. This text came from your Lumen material, provided for you on this week's or on Canvas for this week. So it is important to note that being unaware of how to credit sources should not be an excuse for unintentional plagiarism. In other words, speakers are held accountable for intentional and unintentional plagiarism. I want to specifically add this to this lecture because in future assignments in this class, this is not going to be taken lightly. You need to understand that just as knowledgeable as you should be in the material that you're providing in your speech, you should be knowledgeable in providing the cited source for that material. So it's plain and simple, just like this text says. In other words, speakers are held accountable for intentional meaning you know that that's somebody else's work and you're still going to put it on there without citing it. And unintentional means that you didn't understand. You either forgot, or you didn't know how to cite, or you didn't understand, or you didn't think that you were providing someone else's work, and you were just kind of playing with the words. No, this is saying that you will be held accountable for it. Easy. Be ethical. Make the ethical choice. Be honest with yourself. If the information that you are providing is not yours, you need to cite it. So, crediting sources. Continuation. Global plagiarism. The most obvious form of plagiarism transpires when a speaker presents a speech that is not his or hers. So, this is usually the one we see most. When we grab information, or when someone grabs information from a specific site or from a book and it looks like it's theirs, transpires, you are kind of making it your own. But it's not your work. That is plagiarism. Again, if it's not your work, it is plagiarism. You need to cite it. Patchwork plagiarism is plagiarism that occurs when one patches together bits and pieces from other or more sources and represents the end result as his or her own. For example, let's say you have two friends that have already taken this course. You take some material from friend one and you start writing. You take some material from friend number two and you start writing. You're patching in work that is not yours. If you do not cite where the sources are coming from, or if you're just patching in work from other individuals, if it's not your work, you're changing the words a little, but it's not your knowledge, it's not yours. So that is plagiarism. Incremental plagiarism, or when most of the speech is the speaker's original work, but quotes or other information have been used without being cited. So, speaker's original work. This says that this is your work. This is work that you typed, you researched on, you were able to understand it, and you specifically wrote your own speech. But quotes or other information have been used without being cited. Let's say someone has a really good quote. Let's use Dr. Martin Luther King, for example. I have a dream. And you're specifically using a quote from his I Have a Dream speech, and it's not cited, that is it's plagiarism. Remember, if the information isn't yours, if you're using someone else's work, or if you're not citing someone else's work, it is plagiarism. Be ethical. Don't do it. Be honest and make sure that you're citing or you're just doing your own work overall. So, how do you cite and avoid plagiarism? Again, if it's not general knowledge, if it's not your knowledge, you need to cite. So, and citing during an oral speech is a must. This specific table is provided for you on Lumen, on the content on Lumen. I highly recommend that you go back and look at this specific table because it's going to help you cite, how to cite and how not to cite, or when you don't need to cite on your speeches or on your oral speeches. It's really important that you know when or when not to cite, because how we kind of spoke about before, if it's intentional or unintentional, you will be held accountable for it. So, moving on. What if you want to use a direct quote? So let's say you want to use Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, and you want to use the quote. How do I use it and not getting in trouble? So when you use a direct quote from a source, this is word for word. You must use quotation marks in your speech. Again, if you're using word from word from a book, from online, from anywhere, and it's not yours, you need to quote it. You need to use quotation marks, which are these right here. So, for example, using a direct quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I have a speech. This is an example. Let's say I'm presenting a personal oral speech. I admire Dr. King for his courage and his strength. His I Have a Dream speech was heard around the world. Here's a direct quote of his speech that holds an abundant amount of personal feeling. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. When you are providing a speech, you need to be able to make the audience, or to have the audience understand that the following information is not yours and you're quoting someone's work. So on the italicized part, which is this part right here, here's a direct quote of his speech because we're talking about Dr. King. Um, so make sure that when you're doing an oral speech, this is an example of how to present the source in your oral speech, because you obviously can't see the quotation marks when you're speaking. So you need to make sure that you provide it orally, and obviously when you're providing it in a written context, you need to put the quotation marks on there too. So, moving on, what's a paraphrase? Using information from a source, but not using word from word. So remember, over here, we're using word from word. We're providing the quotation marks. I'm sorry, I forgot to add the actual citation. So make sure that you're going back and looking at your APA format information. This should have included in parentheses of where I got this information. But just specifically understand that when you're writing a direct quote, it needs to have these quotation marks and obviously have where you found it when you're writing. So what's a paraphrase? Using information from a source, but not using word for word. So with Dr. Martin Luther King, we used word for word. But let's say I am doing a speech now on Child Protective Services, and I found some information on the website that I want to use. I want to credit where I found it from, but I'm not using, all of the information I found. So for example, my personal oral speech. For instance, Child Protective Services, or CPS, provides families with services that keep children safe. So provides families with services that keeps children safe. That's something I learned from their website. It was knowledge that I attained when I read their website. So I'm not using the information specifically word from their website, but I'm using what I learned from their website. So that's why I added the source on here. So that is a paraphrase. So written and oral citations. It this is again another table that's provided to you on Lumen. Make sure that you go back, guys, and read the different modules or materials on the module, because it's gonna help you very, very much when you are being ethical in your writing. So this specific table shows you how to use or examples on when to use written citations and oral citations. So please go back and look at that. I really, really recommend it. So, wrapping it all up, remember that being an ethical speaker means you are being providing honest and providing all borrowed information that you use. Make sure that the information that you are providing for your speeches are cited and cited correctly. You provide it in your speech, oral speech, pamphlets, or anything you share with the audience. So let's say we were, doing this class physically, and you were gonna pass out pamphlets to your classmates. The cited information that you provided on your speech should be on any other hard copy information that you provide to your audience. Let's say that you're going to do a PowerPoint. Just how I accredited the sources that I gave you the tables from, and where I used some of the some of the quotes from. You need to be able to provide those sources when you're doing your speeches. Remember, guys, that being ethical is being honest overall. It's something that you need to learn on how to properly provide an ethical written source, so that when you um, are when you come forward for, or when you come and face a dilemma, you have all of the resources to help you achieve the outcome that you were looking for from the very start. So I hope that you guys were able to find at least some type of um, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to share this anymore. I hope that you attain some type of information with ethical speaking. This week is I really like ethical, the subject ethical speaking or communication, because it's something that it's not something that we just use during speeches or communicating, but it's something that you're going to use on a daily basis. If you have any questions on ethical communication, or how to ethically provide cited sources on your future projects, please reach out to me. I'll go ahead and help you in anything that you need. So please, once again, let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm going to be providing more videos for you all. This week is not too long. You'll be able to go through all of the material swiftly, and I hope that this video helps you understand kind of what the material on Canvas is providing for you. So thank you so much for listening to this video, and I will see you guys very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.